You have customers and these customers say they don't want to continue with you, and that's painful because you did a lot of effort to acquire them. You did even more effort to make them like onboard and adopt the product, and then they just leave you. So that is obviously the main purpose that most people these days, at least, why people implement a customer success team. Or
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Unlocking Growth Show, the podcast where we help businesses unlock the next level of growth. I'm your host, Gary, CEO and co-founder of Whale.
Philipp, I'd love for you to start by giving our audience a 1-minute explanation of what you're going to share with us today.
Excellent, Gary. Thank you for having me. Very short introduction. I'm Philipp. I'm the founder of Custify, and Custify is a customer success platform for SaaS companies. So customer success is our daily bread and butter, basically. And you're right, the idea of the majority of revenue typically comes from existing customers, at least in a more mature SaaS company. Probably more than 80 or even 90% of all your revenue, if you guys think about your company, comes from existing customers. And that means if they stay, they're gonna pay you more, and if they're gonna expand and use other products, they're even gonna pay you even more. And yeah, this is the entire topic. So how can customer success basically foster these relationships, make sure those customers stay with you, reduce churn, drive retention, and the expansion?
Okay, so we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how we can leverage customer success to grow your business, but who would you say is this intended to? Like, who is this mostly going to help, and what kind of impact can they get from some of your learnings?
I would say it depends a lot on the stage of your company. In smaller companies, we see a lot of the founding teams still also involved in that activity, as they are involved in almost anything in the company, from sales to product, but also customer success. In more larger organizations, there's sometimes a CS leader, which this is very helpful for, or an entire CS team, of course, that basically takes care of customers based on typically their segment of customers, as in large customers, small customers, maybe customers using a certain product or customers in a certain region. Depends a little bit on how this is structured. But in general, it's those in the company that take care of existing customers. They work with the existing customers. They help them to get value in the onboarding. They make sure they adopt the product. They reach out when they are very successful for case studies and testimonials. They reach out if they are not so successful. They make sure they renew. And
Perfect. We like on the show to get into a very practical mode, so people that tune in can actually take what you share today and actually go implement it into their business. So that's the entire purpose, obviously, of sharing a playbook and its contents. So with that in mind, what are the 3 steps, the 3 things or more, if you have them, that's going to help people turn customer success into growth?
the first very obvious one is the churn. So lowering churn. This is also the reason why most people actually implement customer success in the first time, right? If you think about your journey as a startup, in the beginning, you care more about product market fit and all that, but at some point in time, you have customers and these customers say they don't want to continue with you. And that's painful because you did a lot of effort to acquire them. You did even more effort to make them like onboard and adopt the product, and then they just leave you. So that is obviously the main purpose that most people these days, at least, why people implement a customer success team or customer success processes in the first place. So this lowering churn is the number one thing I would say worth mentioning here. Now, this is done in various different ways. If we talk about playbook itself, you need to make sure when we talk about churn that you understand, first of all, how does your churn look like in the company? What's the kind of churn that your company is facing? Because there are several churns that require different, let's say, playbooks itself. It's probably a topic for an entire podcast, but you need to think about different kinds of churn. For example, involuntary churn, there's churn that you can do nothing about. These guys went out of business, these guys got acquired, and they have already a different solution in place. It's nothing you could have ever done to prevent that churn. But then there's the churn that you can do something about it. For example, the problem that the customers don't perceive enough value. That's the number one reason why people leave in the end, that the business value that you or your software provides or your solution provides is not enough. Because in the end, it's about ROI for the customer. They look at the expenses they have with your tool, and then they're going to look into, does that actually drive enough value for us? And when we talk about reducing churn, it's essential that you understand what does it mean to get value from your platform, and that it's essential that you help those customers that do not get the value to get this value. And this might be in the onboarding, that might be in the adoption, that might be in different stages, there might be different perceptions of that value, but you need to make sure that the customer gets value all the time, not just initially it might be, for example, another reason for churn is the champion leaves. So one guy might be super successful in the team with your platform, knows everything, has it set up, and it works amazingly. Then this person leaves the company. No one else in the team knows about your tool and or knows about how to change things in the tool. And then it's just like nobody sees the value anymore, despite it was delivering a lot of value initially. So it's all about value recognition and knowing which customers do not get that value throughout their life cycle and make sure they do get that. Now, how you do that, this is really, you can use a tool like Custify. In the earlier days, you can just simply make sure that you get in touch with your customers frequently and ask them questions. If you have 10 customers, there's nothing that speaks against you have weekly or monthly meetings with them in the very early stage of your company to really understand, okay, ask the right questions about do they get the value? And obviously don't ask the question like, do you get value from the platform? It's like more like, you told me in the sales, or this is why you signed up initially. How does the platform help you to do that? And then you see, unpack what is replied. So when we talk about churn, it's all about the most important thing is like, what kinds of churn do you have? And what are the kinds of churns that you can do something about? And for those that you can do something about, I would say the one that is around value is the most important one and the number one reason that you can focus on. Does the customer get value? If not, what can I do to change that situation? Can I have a call? Can I explain them? Can I send them educational content, videos? Can I lead them to a write a blog article or to best practices, etc., etc. The list is long, and it depends a lot how high touch you are in your business, let's say, in order to do that.
Great. So to summarize, the first item on the list to turn customer success into growth is obviously look at churn, and it is the low-hanging fruits, I think, for a lot of businesses out there. And so I love the fact that you suggest to segment basically why people churn, because in some scenarios there's nothing you'll be able to do, in others you will be able to take action, and then go and look at how you can assure that you're having recurring impact with your clients, because ultimately if a company has recurring impact with your product or service, they're most likely not going to churn. And then categorize your action plan, if you will, your playbook as we like to call them, based on churn reasons, is going to allow you to be much more effective than just do an approach to all and possible reasons, and in some cases might not have any effect at all. Great first tip. What's the second thing you have for us, Philip?